one of the older guys saw that I was solemn, and they're just going about their day. And he said, "Listen, kid, if you can't handle this stuff, I'll get you a job at Wendy's flipping burgers. I'll give you a great reference, because if you're not built and designed for this and you can't handle this stuff, you need to get the hell out." It's the very first time I was told to bury it.
Welcome to E11evate, the gathering spot for first responders, their families, and the communities that support them. We bring you honest conversations and actionable insights, focused on building resilience and finding balance in places we never thought to look. Each episode is your open invitation to broaden your understanding, shed new light on perspectives, and explore new ways to manage the weight we carry. It's about fortifying bonds, welcoming fresh ideas, and acknowledging every step forward. Together, let's elevate. Hello and welcome back to the E11evate Podcast. I'm glad that you came in today to watch this episode, or if you're listening it on your favorite Apple or iHeartRadio or Spotify or any of the other places that you find us. Real quick before we get to our guest, I want to make sure that you like, subscribe, hit that bell on Facebook, or not on Facebook, sorry, on YouTube, to get a reminder that we put up a new show or we go live eventually once we go live. But with that being said, I want to get to my guest today. He was a gentleman that I met in a mindfulness class, and he is a local firefighter close to my hometown. Actually, I lived in Gahanna for a while, so it was you were part of my coverage area back in that day, or at least the department was. That you may not have been on the department then. But everybody, this is Andy Fay from Mifflin Township Fire Department. If I'm allowed to say that, I'll cut it out if I'm not.
It's all good. I think it's fine.
How you doing, Andy?
No problem. Good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, and thanks for coming back on. And we had a really good conversation when we did our little pre-talk for this, and you're a special guy. You've been through hell, and you've come out on the other side, and I can't wait for you to tell the part of your story that you want to tell, and some exciting stuff by the end of the conversation that you're going to share with the audience that you're doing and what you have done and what you're a part of. So we'll get to all that. So for now, just go ahead and tell us all about yourself. Share with us, who you are, what you do, how you came about becoming a firefighter. Just let the audience get to know you.
Awesome. First of all, thanks for having me on, man.
Anytime.
Very honored. So born, raised in the country, went to a small farm school, which was perfect. We had about 20 students per teacher, 20 students in the class. So a lot of individual learning, a lot of individual stuff, which was great for me because I'm the ADD poster child. And
Welcome
that's
to the
before
club.
ADD. Yeah, that's before that was a thing, right? So I was just this lazy kid that liked to goof off and not pay attention.
I was just learning disability, but they didn't have a label back then other than learning disability.
Yeah. So, but honestly had a great childhood. Generation X, grew up outside. I think that's when they had on TV at 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Right.
So sometimes our parents forgot that they had kids out there running around.
Oh, yeah,
100%.
So,
but the whole neighborhood took care of all of us.
Yep.
So we could run in if we were thirsty into a neighbor's house, into one of our other friends' houses, grab some lemonade or water and run right back out and go down, jump in the pond, fish, and just do whatever. So really, really cool, free childhood. But in first grade, we took a field trip and walked 2 blocks down and 1 block over from my elementary school to the old firehouse.
Okay.
And it was Pleasant Walnut Township's firehouse in Pleasantville, Ohio.
Okay.
And this older gentleman was showing us the truck, and of course, he had a lit cigarette the entire time as he's showing us the trucks, and so a little different age.
Probably drinking a beer. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, not at all. So one of my most prized possessions that I've collected, and I collect some things here and there from the fire service, is a picture my mom took of me sitting in a 1974 Pierce Arrow fire truck and stick shift. Ended up being the first fire truck I ever drove. But the old head standing next to me with a lit cigarette in his mouth, was George Shoemaker, and he ended up becoming my mentor.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I, on the day I turned 18, I went to the firehouse and put my application
Okay.
in. And then April 18th of 1996, got a phone call. So it's about 5 weeks before I graduated. So might not have been exactly street legal, let's say, but I got my interview, and it was right after high school. I changed in the parking lot of the school. Had bought a 3-piece suit from Value City, and threw that on, and it was this just ridiculous pinstripe suit, So got a lot of fun comments made after that, and did my interview, and they said that I'm on as a volunteer.
Yeah.
And that kicked off my career April 18th, 96.
Okay.
And
now, did they put you through fire school, or did you have to put yourself through fire school?
I actually got on that magical medicine Ritalin.
Oh,
and
okay.
ended up getting good enough grades. That was in between my sophomore and junior years. So straight 8 out of high school. Got a full ride scholarship to Hocking College.
Okay.
And that's where I got my fire and EMS degree.
Yeah.
So
I got a couple guys in my department that went through that area. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was a good school, and once again, a smaller school.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
A lot more intimate, a lot more just
and you're
in the hands-on portion. Right.
Your ride times down there, some pretty interesting runs because of the hills and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, so then what brought you to Central Ohio? Like, what made you decide to come away from the small town fire department and come to, I consider your department, because I used to live in that area. I lived off Old James Road down there was a tree farm down about almost down to the end of Old James, and that's where my mom and dad had a tree farm for a while. I grew up in Westerville, but then we moved to Gahanna when I was a freshman or sophomore in college and lived there for many years. But yeah, so what brought you to that department compared to, serving in the smaller one?
Right. So, I always wanted a lot more runs.
Yeah.
I worked for 2 other fire departments that are just in Fairfield County, worked there part-time. I got my first full-time job at Lancaster City Fire.
Okay.
And worked there for only 11 months. And my captain at the time brought in the newspaper, and it had my picture with the other 3 guys I was hired with. And it said the city was in money trouble and we may be laid off.
Oh, no. So, I think I remember. Was that in like 2000 and something?
03.
Okay. I kind of remember a little bit something about that. So.
Yep. So I did the 270 loop and put my application in everywhere.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're not familiar with Central Ohio, 270 is our outer belt. So he drove around the 55-mile outer belt and then just went to the fire departments that attached that, which is probably, I used to call on all those. So that's probably a good 10 or 15 fire departments.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So just in the greater metro area. Yeah. And Mifflin gave me a call. I tested there.
Yeah.
And was hired there in February of 04.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I've just hit my 20 years there.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't get into being a medic until like 06, maybe 05, 06 in that time frame, but I was already a respiratory therapist from like 96. So we basically came into the healthcare field, if you will, as you were a basic most likely in the beginning when you first got hired in 96. And so we both came in. So we're very similar path when it comes to the time frame that we've been in serving the medical side, because let's be honest, fire departments are really EMS departments per se. Some of them will be really mad that I say that, but you take a lot more EMS runs than fire runs.
Sure. 100%. Yeah. And that's one of the things they didn't really prepare me for in that day and age in fire school.
Oh no.
There might've been an instructor that said it, but I thought it was all about fighting fire and kicking ass, right?
So running in with your gear on and your SCBA and dragging people out by the scuff of their neck. Yeah. And then you get in the back of a medic and you're seeing stuff that, if you're not, I'm lucky enough. I came from the medical side of things. So I got a nice slow introduction to medical stuff. as I came through,
Yeah.
respiratory school and into clinicals and then into my first and second job. It was nice slow process where you can see the good and the bad and the ugly, but more good, of course, in the hospital. So, talk a little bit about, your first experience, being on the medic and what brought you to, doing what you're doing now and trying to get the word out about our mental health. If you want to expand on that, I mean, that's why, on the E11evate podcast, we have people come on that have either been through some hard times and are now on the backside of it, or they have some form of help or program or situation or organization that does that now, because we all know that we're trying to beat this incredibly huge stigma in our industry, and it's guys like Andy and I that have to do this. It's our focus now, because we don't want anybody to go through what we've been through. So if you want to expand on that a little bit and talk about that, if you're okay with that.
Sure, absolutely. My very first run as a medic, we pulled up. I jumped out of the in charge seat, and there was a mom running out of her house. We got dispatched on a
I know what she was carrying.
So she's carrying her. I want to say he was just over a year old, maybe a year and a half. No idea about that, but I know there was airtime in between myself and mom.
Oh my! So
where she let the kid go, and it dislodged whatever was stuck
there you go.
in the child's throat. And I never found it. I didn't care, because I grabbed the kid carefully, as carefully as possible, turned around and ran to the medic, and the kid started crying.
Yeah, that's the best sound in the world.
That's good
You're
news.
Running on a choking.
So, yeah, so I was hooked.
Well, let's go ahead and create a maneuver for that. Instead of it being called the Heimlich maneuver, call it the flying,
Yeah,
the flying Fay, the flying Fay maneuver. No.
Yeah, no thanks. I'll be one and done with that one.
Right,
sure.
right.
But so I was hooked, and
I'm saving lives. Yeah,
super young, right? Really wet behind the ears.
Yeah.
And my dad was a fireman also, and he had told me a lot of crazy stories, and so I started compiling some on my own. But within the next month, I went on a elderly lady that had expired, and this was an earlier morning run, sometime during the night, and I was just kind of solemn. Once we came back to the firehouse, it was my first death professionally that I'd experienced, so I didn't really know how to handle it. Wasn't really told. We're told this stuff's going to happen. You're going to see it.
But you're not. They don't ever prepare you for it. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. So, and the thing was, she died of natural causes, right? Yeah. So it was just, it wasn't traumatic or anything. One of the older guys saw that I was solemn, and they're just going about their day. And he said, "Listen, kid, if you can't handle this stuff, I'll get you a job at Wendy's flipping burgers. I'll give you a great reference, because if you're not built and designed for this and you can't handle this stuff, you need to get the hell out."
So it's the
very first time I was told to bury it.
Yeah. And wow. I mean, that's so classic. I mean, and that's the mentality in general, and it's not, I'm not saying it's not right or wrong. That's fine if you want to say that to someone, but on the backside of it, follow it up now with, hey, listen, you have to, most likely you acted in the moment and did what you knew. It's the aftermath that is what we're dealing with, so being able to deal with it and bury it is just not really, that's fine when you're young, but ultimately if you started packing, and then you started packing, and it started off real low, and how many years were you in before you had your moment? I mean, I was 20 years in of medical.
I was, I'm about to hit April 18th will be 28 years.
Okay.
So this was, my rock bottom was in 2019.
Okay. So I mean, it took years and years and years of this, this exposure with just pushing it down, swallowing it. And it adds up. I mean, and it's not weakness. It's not that you can't handle it. It's not that you can't do your job, because you clearly did your job for many years. And it's just our brains can only, I mean, come on, we're human. And that's what I think that one big thing that I like to tell people now is being human is to have emotions, I mean,
Yeah, how weird, right?
yeah.
How
and
weird.
and it's so, sometimes there's such a bad stigma around that word emotions. You're like, what do you mean I'm not a crybaby? Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to grieve and express concern and understanding, and of everybody's feelings, the people on scene, the loved ones, yourself, your partners, and yeah. So just expand on that a little bit more when it comes to what happened in 19, and where you were at that point in time. Of course, your discrepancy is at your discrepancy. I'm not trying to pull anything out of you that you don't want to share with everybody, but just kind of,
Oh,
your
sure.
story may help someone that's listening to this, that to say, wait a second, I'm in that same boat right now. And look, he seems to have his stuff together, and he's doing these awesome things. And okay, yeah, let's touch base on this.
All right. So, let me quickly back up to my childhood again,
Ah,
because this does correlate.
absolutely.
And the more I dug into it, a TMB, traumatic brain
Yep.
injury, comes into play
Okay. So not even
with
like a,
trauma
yeah, not even like
later
a
in
mental
life.
trauma, but a physical trauma.
Right?
Okay.
Absolutely. So when I was 9 months old, I was in one of those saucer round things with all the wheels on it. You put your kid in, and they cruise around the house. Uh, the basement door was left open, and I went down the stairs. Only the first couple of stairs at the top, flipped over in the air, and there were no walls in the staircase, and landed on concrete on my head.
Mm.
My parents threw me in the old Griswold family truckster because 911 wasn't a thing. So got to the local hospital, and they literally wouldn't touch me. They put a doctor and a nurse in the van with my parents and gave them a state highway patrol escort
Oh, wow.
in the van up to Children's Hospital in Columbus. I had 144 skull fractures,
Whoa.
uh, and then 17 major fractures throughout my body.
Whoa.
Uh, Spent, I think, 3.5 months in the hospital, and ended up. So I'm in a medical journal. I guess I'm
Wow.
a miracle case. So I'm kind of famous. I'm kind of a big deal.
God, I don't know if you know
But
this, guys, but I'm kind of a big deal for breaking so many bones.
yeah, right, right. But so there's my out of the chute,
Okay.
with the TMB.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, I had this all star. I still have this all star brother. He's a Food Network celebrity. He's one of the grill dads
Okay.
on the Food Network, and they've branched off and done their own thing, and they're very successful. That's how his whole life was. That's how his academics, his athletics, everything was this high level.
Mm.
So here I am, 2 years under him, trying to perform at that level and prove my worthiness.
Gotcha.
So that all transpired into, along with, I always thought it was cool. I always wanted to be a fireman ever since first grade when I jumped in that fire
Right.
truck. And we could ask, what ended up being my mentor, the old guy then, we could ask him any question in the world, and it's like he had the answer, right? Kids still have that relationship with firemen.
Right.
We just, and we love it,
Yeah,
giving
absolutely.
kids tours of the
Oh,
firehouse is
100%.
just good stuff. But so I wanted to do this job to prove my worthiness, but also to help people. So that's how I got in that. Plus, throw the Gen X in. Our job's pretty high fueled,
Yeah.
and no idea what may come next. So after all of that, I just started going harder and faster into the business and proving stuff, not just to others, but to myself. I'm 5'8" on a good day,
Without
so
your boots?
I don't
Or
have
with
that.
your boots? No.
Yeah, yeah, I don't have that big guy, ability to chuck a 24-footer like some of these guys can.
Gotcha.
So I had to learn a different way to do it, and just to still do the job. Um, I don't care how big or small a fireman is, as long as you can do the job.
Right.
So I had started drinking at age 14.
Okay.
So if I couldn't prove my worthiness, I started proving, I started becoming noticeable. So acting out, started fighting in high school. Turns out I had a little bit of a mouth on me, sometimes still do. But I didn't win every fight, but I won some. And no matter what, I could soothe myself with booze.
Okay.
So I, I tried to, I've got my fiance's cat trying
That's
to
okay. I
crawl
thought I
up
heard
on
him.
me here.
I was like, hey, yeah.
Yeah. So I never listened to myself. I never recognized myself. I was always trying to be somebody else. That transpired into all these different personalities that I had created. I'm a God-fearing, church-going man. So I acted one way around the church people. Then I acted a different way with my guys at the firehouse. Then I acted a different way with my family and a different way with my buddies that were non-fire service. So in the end, that's exhausting.
Yeah, that's how many?
Because
That's 4
it's
different people that you're trying to
yeah,
keep up with inside
yeah.
yourself.
So I'm running a racket, right? And anytime you're running a racket, it's not great business.
Right.
And it's typically it's not sustainable. So um, I was exhausted. I had gotten to the point, and I had climbed up through the ranks at my initial department to fire chief.
Oh wow. Okay.
And I was still the fire chief until 2016.
Okay.
So I was working on 24 off 48 at Mifflin, and then I would get off duty and change shirts,
doubling it up,
and go
doubling up the stress,
go and do that. Yeah. So burning the candle from both ends, 100%. In the meantime, I was married and had 3 kids. So I was missing a lot of their activities, of them growing up, putting a lot into it. And I really always cared about the guys. Can't stand politics. It was probably one of my most unfun jobs, being
the chief.
a fire chief. Yeah. So they say that the weight of the crown is heavy, right?
Yeah.
And it's very much true. So I resigned from that and was on there 20 years. And it was about just over 20 years. So I had more time to drink at that point. Throw a torn meniscus and MCL.
An injury, yeah.
So I told my family that I didn't really like how the pain pills were. So I was just drinking to take the edge off a little bit. It's a racket. Yep. That was completely deceptive. Once I got back to work, started when I would get off duty, I'd hit the gas station that's just a few blocks down from I ride the heavy rescue up there. Okay. I'd stop in this gas station at 8 a.m., grab a 6-pack at least, and Budweiser was my booze of choice, and pop the top and down it immediately in the parking lot with my truck still in park.
Oh, jeez.
And then the other 5 I'd drink bottoms up on the way home. And Budweiser is like the most discernible beer bottle, right? On the planet. So my therapist later said that was me quietly screaming for help.
Right. To get pulled over or get arrested. Yeah.
My give a shit was really broken.
Yeah.
It was, I honestly didn't care what kind of punishment or what kind of issues happened to me.
So with yours, and I think this is what we spoke of, it wasn't like one major incident. It was your PTSD, if are you okay with saying that that's where you were with that?
Oh, yeah.
Your PTSD, absolutely. You when we had our pre-call, you gave me a portion of PTSD I'd never heard of. It's that CPTSD, I believe is what you called it, where it's cumulative.
Yeah.
So can you speak on that a little bit? I know that you probably you've come, you're on the backside of everything now. So I trust that you're very knowledgeable of what the CPTSD is.
A little bit, right? So I'm the consummate student. I like to do the research, and especially if it's something that ails me or something that is in the mental health spectrum, I guess. The CPTSD is actually, and it loses me right now. It's not cumulative, but it should
I
be.
see what you're
It's
saying. Okay.
complex. I'm
Complex.
sorry,
Okay.
it's
Complex, not
complex.
cumulative.
Yeah,
Okay.
post-traumatic disorder.
Okay.
So let me hit on what PTS versus PTSD is.
Okay.
So PTS is that post-traumatic stress.
Right.
So that's something that is an immediate feeling we have, right?
Yep.
After a traumatic incident that we are either involved in or even we hear that
Right.
from somebody telling the story.
Right. Yeah. The collateral trauma. Yeah.
Right. So, and then PTSD is something where you actually have been diagnosed
Mhm.
and have either a singular with just good old PTSD, so to call it. There's typically one incident that can occur. You could have a cop that's on duty for his first tour, and he has to pull his service piece and shoot somebody. That singular incident could trigger and get him diagnosed with PTSD. And nobody knows, unfortunately, when this is going to happen.
Right.
You know, you think, I thought I had a big gulp. I always said, I have a big gulp. You know, some of these other guys might have a shot glass and that's going to overflow quick.
Yeah.
Well, even a swimming pool will overflow
Eventually.
if you keep filling it, right?
Exactly. That's a great.
So
there's the nugget. We talk about nuggets on the show. I'm like, okay, there's a nugget. The analogy that really sinks in are what the nuggets are. So that's a great nugget to have. So that even a swimming pool will eventually overflow, because they were like, well, I'm fine so far. Well, we were great for 20 years, you know. I'm like, and then it overfloweth, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And so I also regurgitated all the stuff I was told. I'll get you a job at the burger
Of course
joint,
you do, because you just
or you can make flies and
yeah.
or fries. So I've since gone back and made amends.
Okay.
Not necessarily in an alcohol fueled way did I ever tell them that, but because that's one of our 12 steps in
12
AA.
steps, yeah.
So I would I'll get back to, so PTSD, that's that explained. CPTSD, complex, is that multitude, just that pile. So your cup keeps filling. You keep tucking it down wherever you can find a place to store it. Typically, you find something to numb yourself out with. But in the end, trading booze for some other substance to numb yourself out with is very similar to asking for a different room on the Titanic.
Yeah, it's eventually going to sink. Good point.
It's honestly, it's still, so it doesn't help. You know, people are saying, I went from cigarettes to vaping. Not sure about that, but and maybe that's a bad, but you know, all the things. I had 5 pediatric deaths in 3 shifts. That I went on.
Wow.
Now we know that a guy like that needs to receive some counseling,
some debriefing or counseling, some form of discussion, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And potentially, and it's kind of case dependent. There's studies that go both ways that I've read, where you give that guy time off. He wins 2 weeks time off with pay if he sees this kind of trauma.
Okay.
The other side of it is, you just gave this guy 2 weeks
to
off
be in his own head
to be in his own head and not have that camaraderie and the brotherhood of his guys at the firehouse, guys and gals. So there's,
that's a tough one.
I think it's case dependent, and I think it's human dependent.
Right, per person. I'm
on
an extrovert, so I'd rather be around people personally on a bad call. After a bad call, I'd rather be around people and personally. Now, if I'm ever to the point where I don't want to be around people, that's when it's really bad, so so when it comes to you coming on the other side of this, you got your help. You ended up having a moment where you got your help, and you came on the backside of this. You were forced to. I mean, you were forced to stay off work, if I remember right, for a little bit.
Well, not forced.
Okay.
I actually called
Okay.
my fire chief and just said on September 12th of 2019. I called him on the 13th, which is my sobriety date, and just said, "Hey, I just hit rock bottom.
Okay.
I had over 30 beers. I also had a bottle of vodka.
Mm.
I can't even imagine ever, and I could never do it then, drinking 30 bottles of water in one
Right.
day.
Let
So
alone
I have no
beer.
idea how I drank 30 beers, right? So, but it wasn't a thing. And my goal was always to black out,
Oh,
not conscious goal. It was just like, and I heard an old timer in AA when I first started going to the meetings. He said, it's the first drink that gets me drunk. And I had no idea. I just thought initially, like, man, he's a cheap date. That's pretty wild analogy. But once I put the bottle to my lips and tasted that alcohol, I was powerless to put it down. So it would just be one after the other after the other. So in theory, the first drink, the first sip would get me drunk.
Yeah, because it never
So
really stopped.
yeah,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
So I back in the day, I mean, when I was drinking, we left Roosters, wings and things.
Right.
Left Roosters, and I was the gentleman and let everybody out before me, only because I had eyeballed two half full glasses
Oh,
of beer
jeez.
on somebody else's table that hadn't been bussed yet.
Oh my gosh. Somebody else, not
Absolutely,
even
I
like your
hammered them.
friends, it's somebody else's table.
No, nope. So that's the extent where my alcoholism
Wow.
had gone, but I still didn't have the problem. You had the problem. Everybody else had the problem.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Denial. Yep.
Leave me alone.
Yep.
So, because if anybody talked about my alcoholism
Yeah.
or the way I was drinking, they're trying to take the true love of my life away.
Yeah.
And that's how I viewed it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's a big, that's a big lesson there is, we've got to, us as first responders, we're built up not only by our peers and by our education and by our community to be, as Brian said in one of the other episodes, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Hey, you trained for this. Why can't, wait a second. You should be okay with this because you trained for this. You asked to be here, hold on a second. That's fine that I asked to be here, but no, I'm sorry. The times that we went through school, maybe it's different, a little bit different now from what I'm hoping and what we're trying to change, is that we did not train for the aftermath. We trained for
Right.
to save someone's life and to grab that kid and we trained for the life-saving maneuvers, right? But we didn't train for the post-traumatic part of it. And that's nothing that was
Right.
spoke of back then, which is a huge downfall of our industry. We're seeing the signs of it now because we're having recruitment problems, we're having retention problems, because everybody sees all these people that are in that have stories now because their pool finally filled up, and they're like, well, I don't want to go do that kind of job because eventually you get into this funk, right? Well, the goal is that if we can talk about it in the front end of the career and allow
Mm-hmm.
people to have that ability to say, hey, listen, this run didn't make me feel good. This run messed me up a little bit. I just want to unpackage it better. I just need to, I'm not going to run off a cliff, but I just need to unpackage what I saw and a little bit different than not doing it. Right. And it's just one of those things where it's not that we're less tough. I think it's going to be when we finally get this through the thick skulls of the first responder world, is that this is going to be the toughest that we'll ever be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That plain and simple. You're not tough until you can unpackage a bad thing that you helped with, that you did the best you could in your capability, whether it was success or not. If you can't unpackage that properly, that's what's not going to be not tough, right? like I want to see, you show me your toughness when you can unpackage this properly and you understand it and you can be humble and you can accept the fact that whatever it is. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying, that you had the problem, not me. You had the problem, not me. You have a problem with me, but I don't have a problem with me. Well, that's not being humble. And that's another big topic that we spoke of in another episode, was that humility aspect. We have to
Yeah,
understand, we have to tell our new up and coming, men and women of the fire and EMS and police industry is that, hey, you got to be humble, plain and simple.
yep,
Like, come on, be humble. We're human,
absolutely.
right? So with that being said, I want to make sure that we get on the backside of talking about the Phoenix Project and what your involvement is there and how that started and all the information that you have for this amazing project that you helped get off the ground. So can you speak more about the Phoenix Project?
Absolutely. There were a handful of us in Central Ohio that had been through Save a Warrior, started with AA, gotten through, um, I guess, the Center of Excellence in Maryland, and just really trying to give back and trying to get the word out there. So we sat down in early 2023, actually, last year, and just started thinking and brainstorming and saying, you know what, there isn't any symposiums right here in Central Ohio solely dedicated to good mental health and mental fitness. So let's create something, and we we made it look like we knew what we were doing last year. So
Did
it
anybody
went off
have any
great.
experience? Oh, so last year was your first year. Okay.
That was our first year. Yeah.
Wow. So when you co-created, how many people co-created it with you that you got together
Like
with?
I said, there were. I mean, initially there were 3 or 4 of us,
Okay. All right.
and it was basically sitting around the table, drinking coffee,
Yeah.
texting each other, a phone
I
call
was
here
getting
and
ready
there.
to, I thought you were going to say drinking a beer, and I'm like, wait a second. No.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, those days
that's
are
not my
over.
playbook anymore.
Right.
But yeah, we just all we had this common vision, this common goal, and we wanted to put everything in play. So we started calling people that we knew could get this done. We
Okay.
have some guys that are
Your
amazing
network.
with
Yeah.
social media, and
Yeah.
just
Started
started
doing it.
rolling.
Where did you guys land on the name? Like, how did you guys get across how did you come up with the name? It's a great name.
So the Phoenix Project, the Phoenix is out of the ashes, out of the
Yep.
fire.
Yep.
So it's somewhat of a rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
I got some rehab ink there.
Nice.
So and then after I went to Saw, I got one on this arm. So
Wow.
I just we were all passionate about it. I don't think my ink had anything to do with it,
Right.
but
Oh, okay. So,
it made good sense that
right.
this is something that can be inspirational.
Right.
The Phoenix just kind of stood out to us.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because it's the people that rise from the ashes. That's what the Phoenix is all about. I've got a couple of friends of mine that have used the Phoenix, mantra to describe what they're doing through the ashes that they came through and the traumas that they dealt with. So it's pretty cool, really cool. So tell us more about the event and when it is, what it is, and who you're having to come in. I know there's going to be. I went. I was when my wife was out of town at Disney. I ended up listening to the book that you suggested that I listened to about your special guest, and I couldn't. I say put it down, but I couldn't stop listening. There it is. Create
So
your own light. What a funny, heart wrenching. I mean, it was a roller coaster ride, man. But tell us more about the
well,
event and who you have coming in, and not only Travis, but other people you have coming to talk on, and the date. Yeah.
absolutely. So last year we had approximately 400 attendees show up. We ended up having to set up some more chairs last year. Actually, this year we decided to double it. So we have a occupancy of 800. And 800 tickets to sell. We're right around 650 right now.
Okay. I'm one of
Adding,
them. I'm one of them.
yeah, there you go. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
But we definitely expect it to be sold out. Um, the A lot of it has to do with advertising. We've really gotten the word out this year. Letters were sent to every local in the state of Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
OAPFF local.
Okay.
But it's April 26th, starting, and it's at one church in Gahanna. It's
Okay.
817 North Hamilton Road. We're opening up and starting registration at 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
That'll go on for an hour, and we have some breakfast treats there and as much
Nice.
coffee as you could hope and wish for. That was all donated to us.
Wow, that's
And then
fantastic.
we open the event the proper way. We have pipes and drums.
Pipes, yep.
We have the honor guard coming in and posting the colors, so it kind of sets the tone. That's a really
and
formal.
Is that the honor guard and the pipes and drums? That's the mixed one with the police and EMS and fire, right?
It should be.
I've been to several things that have like the police officer. Sometimes there's a police officer who runs it, and then I've seen where a firefighter is the lead. So there's several groups around town. I think they're all intermingled, but it's moving. It is really moving.
Yep.
So.
And I haven't heard how big it's going to be. We could have one piper, but the fact is, and I guess when I say formal event, don't come in a suit or a tux. No need to.
But you said formal.
No, wear what you're wearing, brother. So it just
business
really
cash.
sets that tone. Yeah. So
right.
Our guy Travis Howze comes on at 9 a.m. and he's going to talk until 12:30.
Wow.
So
wow, that's a heck of a keynote. Is he going to have some bathroom breaks? No.
You can.
I don't think you'll have to. I don't think you'll need it. I don't think you'll need it. He's so. Just listen. And what was great about his book was he was the narrator. So you're listening to him get emotional telling the story, getting excited telling the story, laughing at some of his own stuff. He doesn't hold anything back in the book, and he paints a wonderful picture of how this industry kind of was back then, and what the sacrifices were because of it, and the changes that have become from it. So I'm excited to see him, hopefully meet him, hopefully I get a chance to meet him. If not, it'll be another time. But yeah, so other than him, other speakers that you're having come on?
Yes. So after that, we're going to break for lunch. That's an hour from 12:30 to 1:30. Then we have Jake Clark, the founder of Saul, and Adam Carr. Both are supposed to be there from Save a Warrior.
Okay, and great.
Fantastic, absolute earth-shattering material. It's things that there is a fairly large group of psychologists and psychiatrists that are attending.
Okay.
Because they haven't seen or heard of anything like this. It's incredible. So,
well, and hopefully it's one of those things. I know that when I do a training and I start to teach on my stuff, and I get my students that want to build resilience with my program, I start off every single lecture, no matter how small or how short it is. Hey, listen, the things we discussed today may bring up triggers. And I know you guys most likely have a support system there that if someone needs help in the moment right there, because whatever is being talked about, whatever story or whatever picture that's being painted by these speakers, and any good symposium about mental health has the help in the moment right there, in case there is it drives up a trigger of the audience members, which are going to mostly be first responders. Other than
100%. We're going to have the Metro Fire peer support team that's Central Ohio's peer support team there. If somebody needs to go out, even if it's for a bathroom break, they shouldn't be surprised if they're followed.
Just to kind of see where people are going.
Just kind of just to see and see if they're enjoying the event and kind of get a read on them. So
just to make sure everybody's kosher. Right. So, and that's one big thing too. I was talking with a gentleman this week about, with us as first responders, they've found that the peer support system is the best model, where we have our like-minded, background people are the ones who helping the people that are in need. And it makes sense because you know as well as I do, we do not like someone coming in to try to teach us something that didn't walk in our shoes or our boots, if you will. And it's a little bit different from my hospital setting, because we're used to having people come in and teach that aren't our nurses, like, we don't care if a rep comes in and teaches us something about a product that we don't know anything about, but you try to do that in a firehouse or an EMS system when the person hasn't done it or use the product. And that's why you see a lot of reps that come in for, like, even down to your jackets, your turnout gear. Almost all of those guys have some sort of tie of the first responder world, or they're still in it, so we like to learn and know that our peers are the ones that are teaching us. And that's why it's such a great system that you guys have built to do just that. So people are already, some of the stigmas already stripped, right there. And when you talk about it, like, oh, this is a system put together by fellow first responders, firefighters, paramedics. I don't know if you had any police that are involved with Phoenix Project yet.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good. That's what I thought. I thought it was all encompassed. It's not just firefighters. So that's why I thought Phoenix Project was all encompassed, which is great.
And,
I'm
911 dispatcher.
Yeah.
Well, is one of the co-founders. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because we know that 911 dispatchers are first responders too, and it's weird to think that they're fighting for their rights to be a first responder. It's like a no-brainer to me. I mean, they're getting, sometimes it's even worse than what we have to deal with, because we can have some sort of closure because we knew we did everything we could in our physical power to help someone. And all they are is they may already be off the phone with just the generalities without knowing anything unless we go back and tell them. So, that's a big part of it too, to help get those guys closure. I've spoken often on closure. I think that's another thing that we focus on moving forward as these tend to get bigger and bigger and have breakout sessions or specialty speakers, is, have someone speak about closure and follow up and how that can help our mental, fatigue, or, and help package the weight that we carry in a better way. So anything else you want to say about the Phoenix Project? And
well, we also have the First Responders Bridge is with Mick Yenger and Joe Terry are closing out the symposium. So that's going to be from 3:15 to 4:45.
Okay, so it's a whole day. Yeah, fantastic.
So it'll be wrapped up and out of there by 5.
Right,
but
right.
Just like last year, we predict guys are probably going to hang out for quite some time afterwards in the parking lot, just like we do after a fire.
Yeah, exactly, and talk and network, and if find out who else can help the next year. I mean, the best events start the second after the new event, the most recent event stops. The next year starts right then. Nobody thinks that any big events like that I've been a part of, we don't, we haven't waited much longer than a couple of minutes after the event to start even sharing notes or taking notes on what could be better for the next year, or what could be enhanced, and things that we could do. So I'm super excited to be there. I mean, to me, I'm wearing my colors proud, and I went to the spring game this weekend, and I had that feeling of, I can't wait to get there. And then I get in the stadium, I'm like, oh, I'm finally here. And I have this feeling already. It's 2 weeks away, your symposium, and I'm getting that feeling, like almost like I have to calm myself down, because I want to suck in so much of the information and put it towards myself and put it towards the ability to share it with other people later on, and use it as a situation where we learn more about how to help our fellow first responders. And that's what it's all about, so.
Yeah, we're excited. We're definitely excited. We had 3 main purposes and goals to start this out, just to help break the stigma, but also normalize caring for our personal mental health and the mental health in the first responder world.
Right. So that normalization is so important, because we are not going to get where we need to be, where we all who have been on the backside of a situation where it's affected us tremendously, like it has for so many. We're not going to get to where we need to be until we normalize it. And that starts with these type of things. That starts with open conversation, without belittlement or bullying, if you will, about a situation, knowing that we were never taught in the beginning how to deal with things on the backside, and like
Right.
I've said many, many times before, we the next big step, in my opinion, is getting a program like I'm building and a program like you have put in place into the schooling systems, whether it be the police academies, the fire academies, the EMS schools, the dispatching training. Like, this has to be up and forefront, and hopefully,
Yes.
I'm going to put out a lofty goal. Hopefully within 2 years, we've got something that's established that every single EMS system does blank, you know what I mean? Does this much, not just, oh yeah, we want to make sure that we have a guide dog here that helps with, not that it's not important to have that, but it's not a one afternoon thing.
Right.
As we know, habits form over time, and to get this, to build that strength, not only the physical strength and the knowledge strength that we build while we're in our training, we also need to make sure that they know that we need to build the mental strength.
Right.
That's when we'll really be solid.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have annual department physicals every year at the firehouse. My fire department in Mifflin, we also have a mental wellness physical.
Oh.
We go to a psychologist once a year, and we sit with them for an hour. We can talk about whatever we want. Of course, it's confidential, and they only have to tell our HR person that one of three things: that we are fit for duty and able to return, or that we are fit for duty but need to return and have another session or two, or that we are unfit for duty and need to return.
After a session,
there really isn't punitive damages, even if, because I was unfit for duty once upon a time and was told I needed to return. I knew I needed more help. I knew I needed to talk to somebody. So grudgingly, I went.
Right.
But the fact is, the good thing is I went.
Yeah, so, exactly. And you're where you're at now because of it. And, that's where the real hero. I mean, I know we don't like to be called heroes, but that's where it really, you were your own hero, because you finally said, hey, enough's enough, in my opinion.
I found my mirror.
Yeah.
I looked in the mirror, and it was,
you accepted
didn't feel
right?
heroic. It didn't feel heroic. It was very humbling. And,
which is important.
Throw some shame in there too.
But, we don't grow until we have shame, laid upon us. That's for sure.
So another
that one
purpose,
stings.
So another purpose we had was to provide resources. So we have all these vendors at the symposium. They're going to be in the lobby. You're going to see them right as you're entering into the symposium. We have everything from fitness programs and gyms to service animals, including horses. We have inpatient and IOP programs and facilities that will be there talking about what they do. Fire department chaplains. It's just this big array. And then there's some resiliency centers there. So just really good, all-encompassing mental health professionals, all there and all ready to explain what they do.
Right.
So
that's fantastic.
So that's a good thing. We didn't want to just talk about mental health.
Right. You want to be able to provide it.
Ship them on their way.
That's
right?
important.
So,
and provide it and give them the tools. That's exactly what I talk about in my course, is that it's not just about the talk. It's about providing tools and the avenues for people to get what they need, whatever that is, pre-resilience training or, hey, I'm in crisis, I need something now. And it sounds like Phoenix Project is providing that. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to be a part of it and be a participant and enjoy the day and be around, fellow minded people that are just there wanting to help one another, or, people that are looking for help. So once again, anything else you want to say? We can wrap this up. And
no, I think we nailed it.
Yeah, I think so too. I thank you so much for all the accommodations that we've gone through to get to this point, to get you on the podcast. And once again, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in. And don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Hit that bell so you get a notification when we put new episodes up, as well as, if we we start to go live here in the future, you'll get a notification when we go live as well. And if you're listening to this and this message resonates with you, please don't hesitate to, all the information that we're talking about will be down in the description. Andy is providing me with all the links and the descriptions for all the things that we spoke about in the podcast today. Those will be down there. And don't hesitate to share this episode with people that you may feel have a need to hear something about this, because that's what's important. We want to share this, and something coming from a fellow first responder is way better than, some stranger coming up to them saying, hey, you need help. If it comes from a place of love and concern, it's a lot more understanding, and it's from a fellow first responder. So once again, talking back about how we like to have things come to us from our fellow first responders. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, brother. See you.
That's a wrap for this episode of Elevate, brought to you by Frontline Empowerment Solutions, your partner in building resilience and fostering continued growth. If you found something valuable today, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our next conversation. We're here to bring you more stories and insights, all aimed at strengthening the first responder community. Together, let's keep elevating each other, one episode at a time.